undisciplined, selfish.
No joke. We're legitimate.
Let's fucking do this. Then do it. Do it 100%, because I'm trying to.
We recognize that we are limitless.
You gotta be a champion, become a champion, right? Winning is a habit because we create habits that lead to good execution and success.
Welcome back to the Coaches Show. I'm Coach Mike Bianca of San Diego Dynasty, joined as always by my friend, co-host, Coach Ryan Gray of the Red Legion. Tonight, we're diving into the WNXL as we head into the 2025 World Cup of Paintball. We've got two awesome guests in the house. And by the way, the comments are already kicking. I can't wait to get to those. We've got Coach Anthony Vitale of the Heroines, who we should also add was a driving force to get the whole WNXL into existence, and three-time WNXL Player of the Year, Jenn Fulk. That's right. Anthony Vitale, Jenn Fulk. We'll be breaking down every WNXL team headed to this year's World Cup. We'll talk about who's peaking, who's rebuilding, and which squads could shake things up on Sunday. It's all leading to the biggest weekend of the year, so grab your gear, settle in, and let's get into it. This is episode 92 of The Coaches Show. This episode is brought to you by Maxt Sportswear. Get with Charles for 2026 deals and sponsorship information, or maybe just stop by his booth at Cup and hit him up there. And BKI, where the smart players are getting smarter. Why? Because BKI. Yeah, I wrote that part. Clever, huh? Sign up at bkipaintball.com and get your learn on.
Good Lord.
It's silly. I'm on zero sleep. I do have some unfortunate news tonight. Ryan and I will have to cancel the coaches clinic at World Cup. Again, no clinic at World Cup on Thursday morning. Our sincerest apologies. It's just the way it is. So that's we'll get that bad news out of the way before we get into the great stuff tonight, Ryan.
Yeah, nobody asked me ever again if we're going to do a coaches clinic at World Cup, because the answer will be no. Will be no. Too much chaos. Yeah. So one of the big things I wanted to say before we jump into our guests is since the WNXL has come about, like the vibe and energy at the events changed, right? Like every time the girls are there, I feel like the energy is different, right? Like the semi-pro field is better, right? When the girls are over there playing, like the energy is just different when the girls are around. And we can feel it when they're not, right? The couple of events a year they're not there, the energy is different. And so really excited about this episode. I think the WNXL is a huge part of the growth of paintball. And again, like we've kind of, I don't want to say ostracized, but we've left out like 51, 52% of the population out of our sport for many, many years. And what a cool thing that, you know, now the girls have a place to play that they can call their own. Right. And it's really been, it's been a joy over the last couple of seasons to watch the teams get better and better and better and watch like standout athletes starting to make a name for themselves. Right. Like it's just, it's again, it's got its own storyline as it should, just like all of the other divisions. I think it's a big deal. So I couldn't be more proud to give these ladies their light and have a full episode about nothing but the WNXL.
Right. And I think also what we're seeing from the WNXL that and I might get in a little trouble for saying this, but the first year or two of the there wasn't a lot of parity. Now there's parity. Teams are catching up, right? And you're starting to see those powerhouse teams struggle with some of these other teams that are coming into the league. And I'm really interested in picking the brains of our guests tonight to understand how a lot of that is happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, no further ado. Yeah,
let's do it.
Welcome.
Hey guys.
Welcome. Really excited to have you two on. Appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah. So Anthony, let's start with you. Let's talk a little bit about real quick history of the WNXL, you and Laurie's involvement, really quick how this thing came about.
I think it fed off a lot of the 2019 Team USA build when we started really trying to have all 5 categories filled. And when they saw that we were able to do that, we had a really strong combine that year. I think we had 23 females come out for that combine. And 2019 was, again, the birth of that. A lot of it had to do with B. Paxton actually asking us to try and choose that women's team. So we just said, well, why don't we do it at the combine? That slid over. And again, 2019 was a really good year for Team USA. And then that kind of cultivated into Tom asking, hey, do you think we can pull off a women's division? And we all sat down in Chicago and started it. Was that 21, Jen, when we were in Chicago?
Yep. That was the first time that we met, Ant.
Yeah.
That dinner in Chicago, 2021. Yep.
Yeah. So we had a meeting over there at a hotel, and we started mapping out what it would look like. And we started with an original 6 teams, and now we're up to 10.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
And only 3 of the original 6 are still standing. The Heroines, Vibe, and the Femmes are 3 of the 6 originals. The other 3 are no longer part of the league.
Fascinating.
So, yeah, Laurie and I wanted to really have a league where the women could feel like pros and have the right atmosphere. We kind of bullet pointed out what we needed. We needed the premier field to be built, and have 10, 12 qualified referees on it, have a webcast. There was a bunch of criteria when Jen and I met with Chaz. We all went over kind of, what's the most important thing to the female players playing, and it was the same as the men. It wasn't really anything different. They just wanted to make sure that we had a good field to play on that was balanced and a way to show our talent. So that's where the Premier Field webcast started to get built and evolved, and that's kind of where we are.
Yeah. Perfect.
I know Jen has put a lot of work into some stats. I know you guys are stats guys, so Jen has done her homework as always, and we're ready to break down this whole league here today. One nice big episode.
I'm excited. I have no doubt I'm going to learn a lot tonight. I've always tracked the WNXL, but it's usually when we're moving into the finals and I'm getting the story. And then I like to go back and watch the matches to try and understand how we ended up with that Sunday story. And of course, I'm already very familiar with the Heroines and several of the Vibe personnel. So it's always been really fun for me. Jen, one of these days, and I should have done this in the green room. I probably shouldn't do it live while we're on the show. Did I just get a big echo?
I'm trying to fix my audio. I think it's me. Hang on one second. Let me try my AirPods. I've tried 3 different things now. One second.
So when you put, just make sure when you put your AirPods in, on the bottom of the screen, there's a place for you to switch your mic and your headphones to your AirPods. Yeah.
Well, why she's dropped out, I'll tell the story real quick.
All right.
So I'm sitting in the stands watching WNXL, and normally I have better situational awareness than this. But I'm sitting there, and my friends and I were making bets on silly things like, okay, I bet $1 that 2 get shot on the break on this one, or something like that. And I was already familiar with Jen, and I was watching Jen play, and I kept making comments about what she was doing. I was like, I'd make a comment here, and it wasn't that they were negative comments. It's like she needs to check in more, or she needs to listen as much as she's talking. I was making these little comments. And lo and behold, so I'm just kind of dogging her a little bit, saying, I know she's better than this. She was playing fantastic, but there were certain components that I wanted to see out of her. And the guy sitting immediately to my right goes, yeah, I've been telling her that for a while. And I turn and I look and I said, oh, Jen? He goes, yeah, I'm married to her. And I'm like, oh my gosh. He goes, and this is Jen's mother.
Yeah.
And her mother was sitting next to her. And I was like, oh, yes. Well, she's a wonderful, and I was like, well, foot, mouth, boom. So did you hear that story, Jen?
I think so. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Is that better? I went through
Yes.
like 3 different situations. Okay.
Yeah. And the echo's gone.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yep. Hey, all you had to do was switch to an Apple device, apparently. Okay, so I heard the very tail end of, I think you were saying about something I was doing wrong,
I was
and it ended up being Chaz.
critiquing your play on the field, and I wasn't
Okay.
being nice. Right?
You were definitely probably being nicer than Chaz is about my playing on the field.
And I learned that during that conversation.
Oh yeah. What event was that, Mike? Do you remember?
I'm almost positive it was Chicago. I'm almost positive it was Chicago, and it would have been the first or second.
It had to be 23.
Yeah, 23. It had to be, because
Okay.
I know I was with the Canes, and I was in
Gotcha.
the stands with the Canes, and it was so funny because I was critiquing your playing, and the guy next to me goes, "Yeah, I've been telling her that for years."
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
It was so
Listen,
funny.
I have no. I'm not trying to derail this thing. I know we got a lot to cover, but I have no qualms saying that a lot. Not even going to put a percentage on it. A lot of what I know and the player that I am is because Chaz was hard on me and because he was honest with me. So I've said that on a lot of different podcasts, and I'll say it again. So listen, you can tell me right now, Mike, all of your feedback. I know you and Ryan both did when we were in Paris last year,
right?
When you came and watched the girls, and I still think about that to this day, and I try to incorporate that still. So listen, you can critique me all you want, bud.
Well, I saw all the adjustments.
Absolutely not. Don't do it. But
no, as from 23 on, I saw the adjustments and I saw the improvements. So it's obvious that you really do study the game. So I
appreciate that.
Very happy to see that. So.
I think she definitely pulled a 1-on-3 out in that event too. So.
And that was a 1-on-4. Come on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't get it wrong. You know what? No, the reason that I joke about it is because the last player was Danny, which is like one of my best friends. So I bring up the 1-on-4 with her all the time. She's probably gonna be in the comments here in a second, but yeah, she was the last body in the 1-on-4, so I give her a hard time all the time.
Much like you have improved, so has the rest of the league, right?
Absolutely.
Like,
yes.
I think for sure, Jen, when you came in, I don't think there was any question that you were the top player in the league, right? And really were the top based on the accolades for sure for 3 years running, right? Mm-hmm. But also what we've seen, and I kind of mentioned this in the intro, is the whole league is getting better, right? Like from the first year when we saw kind of the inception of the WNXL and kind of in its infancy, kind of what the players were doing, you could tell it was really raw. It was really new. Now you can tell like there's a lot of effort and energy being put into the work, right? Like to getting better, to improving the gun skills and bunker address is massively improved from that first year. You know, you were watching players still 2-3 feet away from a spot. Now everybody's up in it. Everybody's got their knee in it. Like there's a lot of things that have improved dramatically just from a foundational perspective, but also some pretty high level things that are happening in the WNXL. So let's kind of jump into the season recap. Let's talk a little bit about what's happened thus far, leading us into the World Cup.
Yep, absolutely. All right. So just to kind of give a little bit of high level stuff in terms of the WNXL season this year, first and foremost, leading our season standings is going to be the Femmes Fatales. Right behind them, 3 points behind are the Heroines. And as you guys know, the WNXL is only 3 events of the year. So that being said, you kind of have to perform at every single one. There's not really any room for error. But the World Cup is worth double, just like it is for everybody else. So every year of the WNXL, the race has always been so close that it kind of comes down to winner take all at World Cup. And that's how it is this year. So as I mentioned, the Heroines are only 3 points behind the Femmes. And the Femmes actually won Tampa and the Heroines won Ohio. So the big thing with that, though, is that the Femmes winning in Tampa was one of the first new WNXL winners that we have had in a long time, which was awesome for the league. You know, I'm obviously not part of the Heroines this year. And I remember watching that game thinking it's hard because I'm torn because obviously I was a Heron, but seeing the Femmes win is huge. And I'll get to them in a second. But yeah, so the Femmes won Tampa, Heroines won Ohio, and that puts our total count of the last 11 events with Heroines winning 6, Vibe winning 3, Destiny previously had won 1, and now the Femmes have won 1. So I'm really excited to see more and more teams get those wins underneath their belt. So that's kind of where we're at in terms of the standings going into Cup. And so that kind of leads us into the brackets. So I know you guys, I think, have the brackets. Look at that. Look at that. So quick with it. Yeah. So, Ann, I don't want to steal the show here. You got anything to add there in terms of kind of where we're at?
Yeah, I want to go back, excuse me, to what Ryan said. I think there was some really great moments in the exhibition match that we had way back in 2021. at the very end, I mean, you had some great plays. There's some cool recaps that I still see with Nana making like great runs to the 50s and Brittany Vang making some cool little moves in the 50s and getting the MVP. So as much as we've come a long way, there was some really cool sparks that I think that exhibition match had a really good following. Everybody was interested to see. And I remember being up in the booth and watching with Maddie Marshall, and he'd be like, whoa, that girl's got some wheels. And, you know, we tried to make the match as close as we could as far as putting the teams together that had some experience. And with the Femmes winning this year, they have a really good mix of players now where they have a lot of veterans. You know, you got the leadership of Andrea, Tammy, Monty, you know, a lot of players that have been there and done it, and then adding in this new players, a lot of the cheetah pickups that when the cheetahs went and the Nevermores took their spots. So they have a really good mix of players. And then even some of the new teams, and we'll talk about them one by one, have added some veteran players. So, you know, a lot of the ex-heroines have moved around and really brought a lot of value to their squads.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to touch on that real quick, I know we want to get into the brackets, but one thing I also want to comment on about what you said too, Ryan, is that we're now in, what is this, year 4? And we're currently in the 4th year. And so when you look back at the start of the WNXL, and you used a perfect example, and when you were talking about Brittany Vang, but even a lot of the Vibe players. So when the WNXL started, a lot of those girls were brand new. And at this point, now some of those girls who literally were starting at the start of the WNXL as players are now into their 3rd or 4th year. And yes, that's still a small number of years playing, but in comparison to where we were, it's not just, oh, more girls are playing. You know, the girls with experience like myself or the Blanca sisters are getting better. It's that even these girls that started at that point, like first person I thought it was JC Paredes from Vibe, who is actually not playing this year, but she was brand new to the sport really when Vibe started. And now people like her, she is now the veteran, even with only 3 or 4 years of experience. So you kind of have that, like you have the historical veterans, and then you have like new veterans of a lot of those newer girls coming in now. So it's interesting the way that tides have kind of turned.
For sure. And I think kind of, and you made my point, right? Is what I'm saying is that you could see that there were like, these players were different, right? There were a handful on each team that you were like, okay, those girls really understand the game. They know how to play. And then you could see that there was a gap between them and the players who really just didn't have any tournament experience, right? They were kind of, or maybe they did, but it was like D5, D6. And now they're coming into the WNXL playing against other, you know, top level athletes. And you could tell there was a gap there, right?
Yep.
Now I feel like that gap used to be like this. Now it's like this, right? Where the competition is just, it's much better. It's way fun to watch. Somebody kind of, Jason Guy made a comment about it earlier, and I don't know if I would say it was powder puff, but it was different then, certainly from a look that it is now, right? Like now it's incredibly fun to watch. Like there's a lot of high level things happening out there. So yeah, I definitely wasn't trying to take away, of course, from those pioneering players. It was just the gap was much larger.
No, Ryan, you're absolutely right, because I recently went back and watched one of our games from 2022, and I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? What was that? You know, so, you know, you're absolutely right, for sure.
Right there. And that's, I'm glad you brought that up, because if you watch one of those early matches, any of the first year matches, and again, to all of your points, there were certain standouts on every team. You're like, that person's played before. She knows what she's doing. But there was almost an awkwardness with some of the other teams, like when the two teams would come out on the break and some of the runs and some of these, you know, zone approaches, etc. There was an awkwardness to it. Now there's a fluidity. You definitely see that fluidity now with all the teams. And I think, and I would like to think that's not just coming from the players' experience, but I'd imagine some of that's coming from the influx of coaching into the women's division.
Yeah, that was Laurie said this from the beginning, is that now they have an opportunity. The women really didn't have an opportunity to be coached by some players. A lot of times the women would come and they wouldn't have the door open like the WNXL gives them. It's one of those things where if you don't have the opportunity for good coaching, then your learning curve just takes much, much longer. And I think that
Totally.
because there's teams now, organizations that have amateur teams below them, there's a lot of males that are playing that take a female player under their wing and coach them up or do drills with them. And it's just a lot easier for them to actually become more comfortable. So you don't see those awkwardness. And like you were saying, Ryan, I remember telling the girls between year 1 and year 2 for the heroines, you know, they're not giving you as much as they gave you in year 1. It was a lot easier shooting players out. And all of a sudden you don't hit with your first engagement in year 2. Now you're not hitting them at all because they're back in. And it was a lot in 1 year. We could tell the difference between, you know, even the bottom quote unquote teams, they've drastically improved on what they were giving you.
Yeah, totally. For sure. Yeah.
All right, Jen, you got some brackets?
Bam!
Bam! How quick you did it
All
again.
right. You say bracket and it just boom. It's there. All right. Let's see here. Okay, so let's jump right in. All right, so just to kind of also give a little bit of background on the way the brackets work for WNXL. So as you guys know, there's only 10 teams. There's only ever 2 brackets. And the way that it works, it's just season ranking kind of just does like a little bit of a snake draw downward. So Femmes are going to be your highest ranked team, followed by the heroines, and then we're going to snake down by rollers, Seracottas, and so forth. So we'll talk about these teams in order of the brackets ranking within that bracket. So we're going to start with the Femmes. All right, let me pull up my notes here. All right, so in terms of, Ant, you want to give us some, a team overview?
Yeah, sure.
And
then obviously the Femmes are coached by one of my really good friends, Daniel Lee, and they've got Ken over there helping them, and Tammy and Andrea, and like I said, Monty, all the veterans over there. Then they also have a really good influx of younger talent, committed talent, with Roxy and Mercedes and Heather all playing out of California together with Andrea. That kind of gave them some cohesion that they didn't have in years past. And then bringing in the Florida contingent of like Casey and Dallas is back and Lisette. So they have a lot of weapons. And they just picked up another Team USA weapon with Angie Tejada. So, and Daniel and Andrea used to practicing and coaching her because she's coming off of the Team USA gold medal win as well. So the Femmes have definitely added a little more to their arsenal to try and take this one home this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to add to that, like you mentioned, they have 5 players that just played in Paris with Team USA. So they're definitely feeling good. Picking up Angie, I think, is huge. I mean, the team is definitely full of attackers. They're definitely not short on attackers. And I think you can see that when they play. As you mentioned, they picked up 3 players from the Cheetahs at the start of this year. We've got Casey Erb, Lisette Barnes, and Dallas Whitwright. Lisette coming off of the Team USA win as well. One thing to note about the Femmes is that obviously they won Tampa. That's huge for them. But even beyond just winning Tampa, they got second in Ohio, losing in the finals to the Heroines. And I would consider this absolutely their breakout year. I mean, I think they took 4th or 5th at 8 of the first 9 WNXL events. So they were always like right there on the cusp, but they could not get over that hump. And I think they finally found kind of that magic sauce to do that. And I don't know if that was, picking up the players from the Cheetahs or, a shift in attitude. I'm not totally sure, but whatever they're doing right now, their witch's brew is definitely seems to be working. And I have like a little bit, I don't know what format we want to use here, but I have like some statistics about each team. I can just jump right into those if you guys want to go that route.
Well, these two don't like stats. I don't know if we want to go that way.
Nope. Math is dumb.
I love all these stats that you have here.
No, we're stoked about it.
Interesting.
We're very stoked about it. Yes.
All right. Yeah. Well, I'll just keep rambling. If you get tired of me talking, I'll just look up and see Mike just snoozing over here.
Yeah. If you catch the drool,
then I'll know that's the end of it. All right. So in terms of statistically speaking, the Femmes are by far, they play the most points out of anybody in the league. Pretty much tournament to tournament, they are playing the most number of points. Historically speaking, like I said, there's only 3 teams that were from the original 6 WNXL teams. So we're working, with a small sample size here, but They still lead the total number of teams played in the history of the WNXL by 30 points, which is huge. They're just, and I don't know if that's something that they do on purpose or if that's just their play style. But you can always count on having high scoring games when you're watching the Fems. That being said, their win percentage this year is 65%. Definitely, obviously, well over 50%. But when you compare that to, and I'm jumping ahead here, but looking at the Heroines, who are sitting at 80%, but the Fems won Tampa. So it's not, definitively speaking, like, you have to play less points or have a higher win percentage. I mean, clearly the Fems route there worked going into this year. But I also have their win percentage in playoff games within the last 2 seasons, being 2024 and 2025. And on Sunday, the Fems played 3 out of 5 Sundays, which would include the 3 events from last year and the 2 events from this year. And their win percentage only drops to 56. So there's not a big gap there between how they're performing in prelims and how they're performing on Sunday. So Fems are obviously a contender going in the Cup. I mean, they're having, like I said, what I would consider a breakout year for them. Like you mentioned, and having, veterans such as Tammy Adamson. I mean, come on. An absolute legend, Andrea Martinez, coupled with, like I said, an absolutely stacked roster of aggressive young attackers. I think that's definitely seems to be working for them. So definitely have them, as a contender for sure.
And I think that speaks to the reason they do play a lot of points is they do play an up-tempo aggressive style, right? Like one of the things I know Tammy and Todd for sure have a mentality of go, 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 right? Like if we sit too long and play all these 50, 60, 40 gunfights, that puts us at a disadvantage. Let's go. Let's put ourselves in positions where we can shoot players in the side, not in the face, right?
Yep.
How do you feel that works out, Mike? I'm sorry, Ryan, with a team like Russian Legion? Like, when you say we want to play fast, why are you saying that? Or why does your team believe that you want to play fast?
Well, one, because we believe that's the way the game is supposed to be played. I mean, that's probably the most important thing. But 2, we're a pretty fit group. We train 5 days a week. We work really hard. We're good in space with our guns. We don't need to be behind a bunker. We want to put ourselves in a position where you're constantly having to shift your gun back and forth, where it makes it more challenging for teams to get on jobs when they play us. So if we can put teams in a position, one, where we can create a little bit of chaos with the tempo in which we play, and not just the tempo like go, 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 but the tempo and also the attack. We'll go here first, here second, here third, and then we're going to go here first, here second, here third, and do it in such a way that creates a tempo in each point, if that makes sense. If we're playing at a pace that's like, a minute and a half, that's really, really good for us. If we can play a minute and a half points, like literally buzzer to buzzer, that's really good for us. Right. We know then that we're going to play enough points that there's a high likelihood that we're going to not gas out the other team, but there's going to be some challenges. They're going to have more chaos than us in the pit, more than likely. They're not going to be as prepared to play at the tempo we want to play. We think that that's how it should be played.
Right. With a dynamic approach like that, the opponent's usually playing catch up because they're having to track. And if you are scouting them, if you are statting them, and you're trying to understand the method to the madness, you might struggle a little bit there because you are playing catch up. So let's say they are aggressive. Hey, we think, I almost feel like, Ryan, the Russian Legion, and to an extent the Fems, there are key bunkers and positions they want to be in like that instantly, whether it's one side or the other, it doesn't matter, but it's a combination of those that they want because they've looked at the math and understand that closing from these 3 spots, we can own these 3 spots in conjunction early, then we have a higher percentage of winning the point because the other team has to react to us instead of set the pace. So you're trying to take the pace away from the man, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And then they have to figure out how to counter.
Yep. No, for sure. I know that you mentioned the word chaos, and Jen and I would, and a lot of the heroines would say that that's what the Fems are trying to do. They're always trying to create chaos and capitalize on that. on you not knowing where they're going to come up. You know, they were doing a lot of things in the past, which sometimes made them a little bit predictive, where they pushed up the middle a lot. But now that they have more weapons to get outside and get up the field on the sides, I think is really what's helping them this year.
Yeah, I was going to add to that. I think anytime we played the Femmes, the entire 3 years that I was with the Heroines, right before we would go on the field, the last thing that I would say in the huddle is keep your head on a swivel. If you did not keep your head on a swivel with the Femmes, you're going to miss it. And they're going, like you said, they're going to pop up in some random place, you know. So they're definitely about creating a little bit of chaos, for sure. And to your point, Ann, I think the people that they picked up this year, I mean, the Cheetahs beat them 3 times last year in 2024 before the Cheetahs left the league and were replaced by the Nevermore. So the Femmes had, you know, lost to the players that they picked up this year. And there's a reason that they picked them up. And I think that those 3 players are helping them. One thing that I was going to add is not for every team here, but for some of the teams here, I do have like a player to watch just to kind of give people a name to look for. And for the Femmes, my player to watch is going to be Casey Erb. Casey came from the Cheetahs last year, and Casey is one of those players who I think is accelerating very, very quickly. Casey, I think, started playing, I'm sorry, Casey, if I'm wrong about this, but I think she started playing the first year that the WNXL was starting. So that was like her first year playing paintball ever. And I actually sold my very first Heroines marker to Casey, and seeing how much progress that she's made, I think she is not only getting better as a player, but she's actually becoming a key player on the teams that she's a part of. Last year it was with the Cheetahs, and now with the Femmes. I think she's definitely somebody who I'm very interested to see where she's at in the next 3 to 5 years for sure. And she's still pretty young, so she's got lots of time. So that's who I'd be keeping my eye on for the Femmes.
Okay.
All right, we're going to go to the rollers. Some of our old girls.
Yep. You want to give us an intro, Ant?
I really love the rollers. I love Allie. So Allie's one of my favorites. She knows it. So, but they have a really good group of girls, and they play a lot. I think they try to play 2 to 3 times a month, which for a WNXL team is a decent amount. I know for the Heroines, we're flying in a lot, so we don't get to play with each other as much as some of the teams that are all local. I think the rollers really wanted to try and make sure that they had a tight-knit group that could play a lot, and kind of, again, talk about that learning curve. You get to cut it down. And I think that's what really helped Vibe their first year when they were playing, is because they were playing all together and they had, you know, great surroundings and coaching with all the fit guys. But yeah, the rollers, I think, are a great tight group, and anytime you play them, you again need to be on your A game. So I'm looking forward to seeing them at Cup. You can talk, Jen, a little bit about their pickups.
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of the rollers, just to touch on what you said real quick, Ant. So they are, I think Allie told me 7 of their 8 players are local. They practice out of Quick Shot in Chemung, New Jersey. And because they're local, they've been playing a lot of local events and doing a lot of scrimmages together. I think even more accelerated than the last little bit, you know, in prep for Cup. So in terms of roster changes, in Ohio, they picked up Maria Hernandez, who had played a good bit, probably 5 or 6 events with the Femmes originally, and then had switched over to the Seracottas at the start of this season before making the switch to the rollers for Ohio. So I know they're really excited about having her back for Cup. Maria is a great attacker, very unpredictable, was one of the reasons I used to say keep your head on the swivel when we played the Femmes. So Maria is definitely a very wily player, so definitely a good pickup for them. The high rollers will not have Sobe Glass or Taylor Murrow, formerly Taylor Hofer, for those of you who know her by that name. The 2 of them will not be playing World Cup. And I think the impacts there are, at least in the last 2 seasons, they were playing both of them up the middle a little bit. And I think that having Maria back with them for Cup is going to fill that role, because I know Maria used to play a center attack role for the Femmes in a very kind of unpredictable way. So I think that's a really good fit for them, having Maria. Maria is not local to there, but I do know that, like you said, Ant, they're trying to get together and practice as much as they can. That being said, one of the reasons that I think that they are so hungry is that World Cup last year was their worst finish that they have ever had. They took an 8th last year, which, I mean, out of 10 to 12 teams, we had a couple European teams at Cup last year, so it was actually 12th, but out of that low number of teams, 8th is really, really frustrating, not even making Sunday at World Cup. And I think that probably stuck with them in a really tough way. And so I think that they're going to be coming out for some much needed redemption at this World Cup. That being said, looking at their finishes, they've taken 2nd at 2 events and they've taken a 3rd, but they also have a 6th, 7th, and an 8th. So they're actually the team that has the widest range of finishes. And to that point, the issue with the Rollers to me is their inconsistency. And I think that they are one of the teams that has the most talent and the most potential, but always crumbles at like the worst time. And I think that really shows when you look at their win percentage. So their win percentage this year is 55%. And for the last 2 seasons is 41% on Sunday. And so I actually, based on their roster, I would expect their win percentage even this year to be higher than 55%. They're a team that I would expect more of because I think that they have a lot of talent. That being said, this year they did get Janaea Curtis, who was on the Heroines for the first two seasons. Well, I'm sorry. Last year they got Janaea, who was on the Heroines for the first 2 seasons of the WNXL. Veteran, back role for them. Definitely has a lot of Sunday experience, having been on the Heroines for the first 2 seasons. So that was a huge, huge pickup for them going into last year. And then, of course, carrying into this year. I do have a player to watch for Rollers, and that's going to be Veda Dux. She is a front snake attacker for the Rollers. In my opinion, one of the top 5 most athletic players in the league, probably. I keep waiting for Veda to just pop off. I think she's somebody who genuinely, I do think you should be watching. I think she has a ton of potential. She's very young. And what is she, 19, 20? Am I off there?
Not by much if you are. I don't think she's 21 yet. Wow. She came from Destiny's camp. Definitely, like Jen said, very athletic, a snake 1 attacker typically, and can definitely put pressure on your team each point. And she can play every point, which is nice.
Yep. Last year, when I was with the Heroines, when we were playing in Atlantic City against the High Rollers, anytime we'd shoot Veda off the break, I was like, okay, Veda's off the field. And so they'd send her snake side and we shoot off the break, and then they try to send her Dorito side to attack and we shoot off the break. And I'm like, okay. So yeah, Veda's definitely a player to watch for sure. So you can see the comment highlighted there. Definitely a top 4 snakeside player in the league, probably. I do want to note another comment that this same user made earlier, which was that the Rollers have gone through a lot of coaching changes since the beginning of their time, and that is true. And I think that probably is part of kind of them trying to find their rhythm and try to find a little bit more consistency. I know Pat Lindsay is coaching them now, and he's a super nice dude. I think that seems to be flowing for them a little bit better. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but just as an outsider looking in, seems to be working out for them. So I might be saying this a little too early, but I think Rollers might be my dark horse. I think.
Okay. Not that they're too much of a dark horse, though. I don't think you're going out too much on a limb.
No.
But they've never won an event, yeah?
Right. Yes.
They've never won an event, and they also got 8th at Cup last year, and they've had a 6th and a 7th. Like, they definitely have a wide variety of finishes. Right. But the reason I'm calling them a dark horse is because I really feel like they're a team who – look, I don't want to call somebody a dark horse who I genuinely don't think has a realistic chance at winning. Right. At least not maybe in other divisions, but in this division, like the Rollers are capable of winning and they haven't done it. And I think they've made finals twice and have just crumbled, in my opinion, in the finals. And I commented one of them, Tampa this year, and it was just these little mistakes that like they shouldn't be making. And I know those players, so I'm looking forward to seeing them play. I think it's going to be, I think that's going to be a great match. The main, the headline match there in this bracket, the Rollers and Femmes. I think that'll be a really good match to watch, and definitely a fun one in terms of lots of points. Hopefully, haven't seen the layout yet, but we'll see.
Yeah, a lot of shit talking in the chat. Really I love it.
Oh man, I got to catch up.
It's going off.
It's funny.
I agree with Alex there. Where when Jen was talking, Jen mentioned the word crumble. I was like, I wish they crumbled back in Vegas, but
but that's my point.
Some other team
that's my
crumbled.
Point, though. Yeah, we absolutely did. And I don't want to make this about us, but that's exactly my point. I really thought, okay, in Vegas last year when they beat us in the semis, like I was like, okay, they can do this thing. And I actually didn't commentate that finals match with them in Vibe, but I did commentate the one of them playing against Femmes and Tampa, which was a very lopsided match. I think it was 6-1.
Right.
in favor of the Femmes, and that just should not be the case between those two teams. I think the Rollers, and I think they know. I mean, that's not news to them. I think that they know that they can do better than that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually had that match on the show. We had Dan come on and we kind of talked a little bit. We went pretty quick because it was so lopsided. But yeah, we talked about that. I love that though. So Rollers are your dark horse.
I think that's what I mean, I haven't seen the layout, mind you. But yeah, I mean,
okay, so layout dependent dark horse.
No, I'm going to give it to him. Don't let me down.
Okay.
Don't let me down, Ali and Janaea and Veda. Don't let me down, guys.
Ryan, do we need to add the WNXL picks to our coaches picks?
I was just going to say, we're going to add this next week to another tie because we have a 3-way tie right now.
We do.
Ooh.
In our coaches picks, we have a 3-way tie. So, or maybe it's 2.
It's
maybe
2. You and I are tied.
Yeah. Mike and I are tied. SK is right below us. And then Shane's just a couple of spots below. I mean, it's really tight. So we need to add the WNXL. We'll do it.
Okay.
All right.
One thing before we go on to the next team. So for Mike and Ryan, what is it about World Cup where some teams like an Aftershock back in the day just owned World Cup? And, you know, Dynasty had that, three run where they did really well. What makes a team better playing World Cup than other teams?
Mike?
Well, that's a very nuanced answer. It obviously, I'll probably tie it back to culture, but let me put it this way. It's the last event of the year. You either got everything to gain or nothing to lose. And so that mentality, that switch kicks off because, okay, the rest of the season doesn't matter now. No one necessarily remembers who won Chicago. Everyone remembers who wins World Cup, right? And so you have to flip that switch and understand that this is the only thing. This is the only event that matters. Whether you've done well previous in the season or you haven't been playing well heading into that cup, everyone brings their best to cup. And it's a mental shift because now it's no longer about, you're not playing the long game now. Now you're just playing exactly what's in front of you. That's the only thing that exists, and that must be killed, right? So there's such a much more minute focus at World Cup, and I think teams just dial in on it, and that energy just hypes up. That would be my first attempt at explaining that.
I can tell you as a coach, like it's always been my like mentality to ramp my team up throughout the season to go into World Cup playing our best paintball. Right. Now I have 5 second places at World Cup and 1 win. Right. So maybe that I'm not the right person to speak on that, but like, I know for years, like you mentioned, Shock, Dynasty, these teams would just come in and like for a while, I thought it was magic. Right. I'm like, they just have some sort of magic when they come into these events, right? Like there's the emotions that they pour in. It's just a different thing for them. And I know like for us, you know, with Red Legion, it's the same. Red Legion's won a lot of World Cups. We'd like to win another one here. I can tell you the focus is different, right? Because it is the last tournament of the year. They know there's a break behind it. So the concern about the body is less. Does that make sense? Where it's like, hey, I have this little thing that I might be concerned about because I know there's another event coming in 6 weeks. We don't have that, right? So it's like, I'm going to play through that little thing because I know I got 5 months to recover, right? So I think players just have a tendency to elevate going into World Cup. And certainly culture, as Mike mentioned, plays a huge role in that. I mean, if you think about, going back to Aftershock, their culture was just insanely good. Right. I mean, they had this like attitude and swagger going into the World Cup for many years that was just unmatched. I mean, the way that they even entered the venue, you knew when Shock was there, like the energy kind of changed around you. So I would love to be able to put my finger on it and say it's exactly this and then be able to recreate it. But I do think there's some magic there.
No,
I do.
I do like how you brought it to a coaching perspective, Ryan, because you now have 4 events of data. You've got a season of data. So we know what we're doing well. We certainly have established that. We know what we're not doing so well. So there's that also that hyper sensitivity to those sorts of things from a coaching perspective. And so once you go in understanding those things, you apply them a little bit harder.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And you like get, again, there's this like a very finite focus on these, like, hey, this, and this, these were our deficiencies that are glaring through these things. That if we clean these 3 things up, we're good. Right. And you can put a lot of focus into those things going into the final event. And as Mike mentioned, you now have 4 events of data on everybody you're playing, right? Because the rosters don't change. So, I mean, there was one change that occurred, prior to World Cup with Sean Sauceda being dropped from Arsenal and now moving over to NYX, which I love that for NYX and like it for Sean. But you get there's a lot of data, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of information that you have to work through. And especially for like us, we're going to play 3 teams that we played a lot, and then get to go into the finals, having played the 3 best teams there. And we'll see what happens. Right. So, but there's a lot of focus.
Yeah.
All right, Jen, we got Seracottas next up in this bracket.
See, he said bracket and there it is.
Yep, you just say it. You don't even have to say it 3 times. You just say it once. You know what I mean? All right. Yeah. All right. So going into our 3rd ranked team in Group A is going to be the Seracottas. They are based out of, how about say Columbia, South Carolina, y'all? It is getting late here. They are based out of Columbia, South America, not Columbia, South Carolina. So yeah, they're one of our Latin American teams who, just that alone, the fact that they get their whole squad here is fantastic. I know that's a whole point of, effort in and of itself. So huge shout out to them for that. They did have a pickup going into Cup. They picked up Bruno Resende, who previously had played with the Sirens, the San Francisco Sirens, and who were previously the San Francisco Diamonds. Were they San Francisco?
Sacramento.
Sacramento. Thank you. Sacramento Diamonds. Yeah. Yep. And we'll talk on them here in a minute. But yeah, so Bruno came from that camp and is now going to be playing with the Seracottas. 2 of their players, including Bruna, as well as Bianca Fitz, also just came out of Nations Cup playing with women's team Brazil, just for what it's worth. And then they also picked up last season for Atlantic City. They picked up Daniela Polito, who also came from the Femmes. So just in terms of people with Sunday experience, I think that those are definitely some good pickups, taking them into World Cup. The thing about the Seracottas, my real, biggest thing with them is they are super gritty. They're super unpredictable. You definitely cannot ever count them out. They're kind of like the Femmes in that they do things that you don't necessarily see coming. You still kind of have to keep your head on a swivel, but definitely a fun team to watch for sure.
Yeah, not to take anything away from who was coaching in Ohio, because obviously I think that was the first time they made the playoffs, right? Was the last
Listen,
minute?
Ant, you're still in my stats. You're still in my stats. Ant, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
I know, but I'm sorry. I had to get my boy VG.
No, get it out. Go ahead.
VG coaches them a lot, and he's a really good coach, really good human being, knows a lot about paintball, super invested in the sport. So I'm hoping to see VG coaching them at World Cup. But again, not trying to take away from their coach who coached Ohio for their first playoff appearance.
For sure. Yeah. And to Anthony's point, he's just stole my thunder. But yeah, Ohio was their first ever Sunday appearance. I'm kidding, Ant. I'm kidding. Totally. Yeah. So they made Sunday in Ohio, which was huge for the program for sure. And they also have the highest win percentage. There you go. VG will be there. But they have the highest win percentage of teams outside of the top 4 by 12%. So their win percentage right now is 52. And just to recap on high rollers, theirs was 55 for this season. So definitely, kind of on that cusp, in terms of just statistically speaking. So I'm curious how that's going to, roll over into Cup. That being said, they're going to have to face the rollers and the Femmes. So definitely a tall task, but they're definitely gritty.
I'm not going to steal your player to watch because I already know who it is. It's the same player to watch that I would say as well. So I don't want to steal.
Right. You talking about Bianca?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely Bianca Fitz. That girl is a monster. She is so athletic. I'm like, I see her posting all the time. I'm like, dang, like,
people with that name usually are athletic.
She's a beast, and she's always got a smile on her face. Love seeing her around. Like I said, she just played for Team Brazil and France. So huge shout out to Bianca. I don't know if she's their team captain, but from the outside looking in, it seems like she is. Seems like she's always getting something done for that team. So, and definitely a baller on the field for sure.
Yeah, she had messaged me after the Nations Cup or the World Championships and asked, how can we get better? And so I ended up getting her BKI subscription and said, hey, the girls train here too. So, and I said, this is what the heroines do usually to stay sharp in the off season or in between events. And so I liked people that are proactive. They're always trying to just make themselves better. And again, to your point, how athletic, she's big into CrossFit and is doing the competitions and doing well and keeping herself in shape and pushing yourself. So I think that's one of the things in anything you do is you got to be disciplined to be able to push yourself to get better, or it's just not going to happen.
CrossFit is stupid.
I concur.
Sorry, I do it every morning at 6:30. It's real dumb.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Like I have a love-hate relationship with it. We're in this cycle where we're riding these stupid Echo bikes and we've ridden it every day for like 9 days straight. I'm like, listen, I'm not riding it. I'm done. I'm not riding that thing anymore. Okay. So this based on the stats of the first three teams, and I don't want to look too far ahead. Sure. This looks like
on paper the hotter bracket. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
On paper it is.
Okay.
For sure.
All right.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And that's a good segue into the next team. The Nevermores sitting at the 4 spot, just generally speaking, I think is misleading. But we can jump right into the Nevermores if we want to go that route. Anything else to add about Seracottas, Ant?
No, ma'am.
Alrighty. All right, jumping into our 4th team in Group A is going to be the Nevermores. So the Nevermores are in their first year this year. They took the spot from the Cheetahs, the Chesapeake Cheetahs, who are no longer part of the league as of this year. So they're in their first year. They're based out of NR in Maryland, and they get to work on layout weekends with teams like NRG and Nasty. So they definitely have some mentorship there. Their goal going into Cup is to make Sunday, which I'll get into kind of their performances of the last 2 events, but that's definitely their goal. And I think it's absolutely doable for them. And they are coached by Alex Delmar, who has been in the chat here popping off. I see you, Alex, whose birthday I think was yesterday. So happy late birthday to you, Alex. But Alex was an original member of the Heroines, one of my great friends, and definitely has the winning experience, Sunday experience, and knows what it takes. So she's stepping into a coaching role this year, which I think is awesome for the team. She is one of the most positive people I've ever met. And I think she's bringing that to the Nevermores, and I think it shows. That being said, I think the Nevermores are one of the most enthusiastic teams that I've ever seen. They take so much pride in their team. They are I don't even know how to describe it in words. They just have such an energy about them that I haven't seen. And I don't know if it's because they're in their first year and they just have a lot to prove. But they have such an energy that is just contagious. So yeah, anything to add about Nevermore's, Ant?
I don't want to steal your notes, but there are some players that I really enjoy watching there that grind. Kelly Watson, definitely. She was around the Heroines camp for a while and helped us out a lot. And she's progressed so much over the last couple seasons. They do have, I don't know if Carolyn's on their roster, but she was an original Cheetah player. That's a Dorito attacker. But if she's back on the roster, I know that adds another weapon for them. And then they have Rixta, who's played a lot, has a good experience on that squad. So, and they were so close, man. They were so close in Ohio.
Yep, for sure. They just to kind of touch on that. So they had a really rough start in Tampa this year. I think they had 3 5-0 losses, and I think that was really disheartening for them, because I do think that they expected to do better. And I think a lot of people expected them to do better. And they immediately turned that around in Ohio. They went from a 13 win percent in Tampa to a 53% win percent in Ohio, which is a 40% increase. That is just incredible. So that puts their average for the year at 28%, which I think is a little misleading, because I do think that they just had a really, really rough start. I don't think it's a representation of their talent as a roster. And I think that they're definitely, if we're talking like bracket dark horse, I think the Nevermores are going to be a team that you could expect to see potential upsets with. To Ant's point, they definitely have some good players on that team. Already touched on one, Kelly Watson. Kelly Watson in 2023 was running pods for the Heroines. Again, absolute incredible attitude. She got picked up on Tiki's Ohana last year, and again was like a sponge. Took in every single thing that she could, always had a good attitude. And not only that, but she was making really good plays. I remember commentating some of their matches and being like, you can see her learning and getting better. So Kelly is definitely one of my players to watch, but also have one other player to watch, and that's going to be Brittany Reed. Brittany Reed is a new player to the WNXL this year. So she's a true rookie, I guess you'd call it. I don't even think I've ever heard anybody use the term rookie in the WNXL yet, but I'm doing it right now. So Brittany is definitely one of those players who, again, I think she's a big part of that enthusiasm for the team. The girl loves paintball, and I don't even know how to describe it. She's just super, super excited about being part of the WNXL and being part of the Nevermores and getting to make her name known. And she had a lot of incredible plays at Ohio that I got to see. So I think she's a player that you're definitely going to want to keep your eyes on when the Nevermores are playing at Cup.
That is something I noticed. Every time I saw somebody in a Nevermore's jersey, they were always smiling. I mean, and it's just something that clicked, because I'm like, man, they're always smiling. They're just always happy. So I hear the positive attitude thing, right? They're there to have fun. They're there to play and have a good time.
I think that starts in their ownership a little bit too, because Hooker was so keen on getting a spot, and when the spot opened up, he just jumped on it, and he just loves the opportunity. Every time I talk to him, he's saying this is like the greatest year of his life, and so it kind of comes from the top and just flows down, which you love to see, right?
Culture's
like
a top-down problem.
Yeah,
culture's a top-down problem.
That's right. Love it.
Sounds perfect. All right, you ready to go to the Sirens?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to round out our bracket here with the Sirens. Ant, you want to take the lead on this one? Here?
Yes. You talked about teams that have a lot more to give, and I think the Sirens coming in last at the last event, talking to Allison and some of the players over there, they know that that's not where they're supposed to be. And that's why that this whole bracket is just, I'm happy to be in the other one, because that's just going to be a grind, because everybody has something to prove, and the Sirens are one of them. They were missing a lot of their players at the last event, which I'll let you touch on, Jen. But when you're missing that many players, it's very tough to compete. So when you're down 3 of your starters, and all of a sudden you have them back, well, now you know you got a different team. So now that you have a different team coming into the biggest event of the year, you're hoping for drastic changes in results. So unfortunately, they're in this blender bracket, but I think that they're going to be stealing games from a couple of these teams as well. I don't think anybody goes undefeated in here in this bracket. I think there's going to be a lot of going back and forth, and we could see this bracket, someone sneaking in 2-2, just because it's, like I said, it's a grind.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. Just to touch on the roster, yes, they were missing 3 starters in Ohio. That's going to be, and I apologize in advance for anybody that I'm talking about tonight. If I mispronounce a name, I'm doing my best here. But they were missing 3 starters in Ohio. That's Jamie San Roman, Adriana Benini, and Lexi Coster, who absolutely are 3 key players for them. And I think just having to kind of fill those gaps was kind of tough for them. And I am told that they will all be back for World Cup. And they've also picked up a new player, Cheyenne Gutierrez, from an amateur team. So that'll be another pickup for them. And they're going to be practicing out of West Coast Adventure Park in Hollister. Exactly to your point, Ant, they are, historically speaking, they were always kind of mentioned more in like that 3 range versus down here at 5. So it's shocking, I think, to see them that low. And I think that they're definitely a team that always puts up a fight. They're extremely resilient. Back when the Diamonds were essentially removed from the WNXL, the girls gathered back together, created Sirens, fought back through the amateur division, got their pro spot back. And I just think that alone is shows extreme resilience and just grit in order to do that. And also they're coached by Shane Pastana, which obviously goes without saying. So shout out to Shane. And yes, I think somebody might have said it in the comments already, but last year was the first Sunday that they had ever made, and that was at World Cup. So I think that's definitely a big goal for them is going to be to make it to Sunday. And also not only that, but when they made Sunday last year at World Cup, they only lost to the Femins by 1. So, I mean, it was even their Sunday appearance was not a blowout by any means. So I think that they're definitely hungry to get back to Sunday, but more importantly, to get out of that 5 spot. Cause I think they know that that's not where they're supposed to be. And then just statistically speaking, their win percentage on this year is 28%. So right in line with Nevermore's in terms of kind of having that okay event, and then the one that they just really did not perform because of obviously the lack of starters. So definitely a heavy bracket.
Yeah, I do have a correction because I believe Shane helps, but I believe they're coached by Alex Williams.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They are. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, because Alex is a friend of mine. I knew him from the royalty camp way back in California.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Good correction, Mike.
So,
and who is Shane Pastana again?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Is that supposed
to
mean
only reason I know
something?
him is because he wears my jersey number. That's the only reason I know that guy.
I have heard that he's not very good at picking things. But anyway, I did. I'm going to get texts here any second now. I think there's also something we're saying because the names you just said, Jamie, Adriana, and Lexi, aren't those their 3 front players?
Yeah.
So at that event, they didn't have any front attackers. So other people had to come in and fill that role.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep. Typically, Lexi is their front snake.
Showing up there without that. So
yeah,
I just got a text. I wonder
there
who
it
is. Let's see if I'm right.
When looking at the men's division, Ryan, you have teams. Uprising's doing really well this year, but in the past, even when they weren't making as many playoff appearances, they were a team that you knew was always going to be close.
Yeah, 0. They made no real playoff appearances in the past many years. In fact, their recent 3rd place finish was the best that team's ever done in the NXL. They are you asking what was the shift?
I'm just saying that's how I feel like this bracket is that there are so many teams that are just like Uprising was, not this year, but leading up to this year, where they're just one step away from making the playoffs. And that's how I feel like this whole bracket could be.
Yeah, that's well, again, based on the stats, this looks like the grinder. On paper, it looks like the grinder.
And that also speaks to what I was saying about the fact that we only play 3 events in the WNXL, right? So if you have a really terrible one event, well, you're only averaging 2 events of performance. So unfortunately, it kind of makes the brackets a little bit, I don't want to say lopsided, but there's a chance that it can be just because you're working with such a small sample size.
Sorry, I'm literally just looking at all the win losses and all that. You got all this data. Now you got me looking at it.
Right. And like you were saying, Ryan, I'm looking at it too. And I want, for those in the audience who may not understand what the win ratio is, how the win ratio is developed is basically it's total points played and how many were won out of that. Right. So it's a percentage of that. And so it's a cool stat, but it can be misleading in situations like this, especially heading into World Cup. So whereas you may have a high win percentage, it's when those losses show up that can be the pooch, right? So
totally. It's not how many you win, it's when you win.
It's when you win them.
Yeah.
So, and I'm looking at that, what you were talking about, Ryan. This is based off the win ratio percentage. This is the grinder.
Yeah,
100%.
It looks like it.
Mm-hmm.
Before we switch over to the other bracket, there's some comments about European teams not coming this year. And yes, Belladonna did have the opportunity to come, and I think someone else, but I think costs or something made it so they couldn't come. So yeah, it's it sucks not to have them, but we totally understand with the economy and different things that if you can't make it, you can't make it. But we still would love to see those European teams. Well, shout out to Belladonna. They played great over in the Europe this year. And, they put it on us for sure. So it was good to see.
Yeah, good team. Okay, you want to move into this other one?
I guess we will.
Nobody said bracket, but there it is.
Bracket. All right. Who wants to give the intro to the Heroines?
I'll give the intro because
all right.
So we
that team.
I know them a little bit.
Yeah.
But we feeling pretty good. We'd be feeling better if we didn't lose Tampa. But shout out to Dan and the Femins. So we've got Brooklyn Stellato back, which we're happy about. She was not able to play in Ohio. And we stole my best friend, Mina, from – does she play with Karma? I think it's Karma, right, Jen, usually?
Mm-mm. Well, she was playing with Dracana originally.
Dracana, sorry.
Yeah.
And so she filled in and played lights out for us in Ohio. But hopefully we'll see her back next year playing with us. But we do have Brooklyn back, so we're back to our original 8 roster that we have in Tampa. We're going to have a pretty good grinding practice at Legacy. We've got the Legacy kids, Eli's team. We'll be grinding against those guys. We'll be playing against Nana's team, the Rejects. So we have some good practice partners. So we're looking to have a pretty good practice going into World Cup. We've been pretty consistent over the years, but obviously for us and for our culture is we have to win, right? That's our goal. That's what we're built for. And we're hoping to be able to do that. We've been able to win 2 out of 3 of the World Cup. So last year, dramatic fashion with Danny. So we're hoping to be able to put ourselves in position again to win.
Yeah, I think that's one of the key things, differences between the Heroines and a lot of the other teams is that, at least from my time playing with the Heroines, anything less than winning is not an option. When we would win, it didn't really feel like a celebration. It felt like you did what you were supposed to do. And I think that's just the culture that we had on that team. And what I was going to get to next is that the stats they don't lie when it comes to the Heroines. And I think the success that they have seen, and I say they because I'm no longer on the Heroines this year, as many of you know, but looking back historically speaking, they've won 6 out of 11 events, and of the ones that they didn't win, they always took 3rd. So they podiumed every single event that they didn't win. And then actually one of the super interesting stats that I have been hoarding in my pocket for years that I've wanted to, well, not really years, I mean, over the years that I've wanted to share, that I've never had a place to share, that I think is super interesting, is that there have been 5 events that the Heroines have lost in the semifinals, and every single loss has been to a different team. Mm-hmm. So the Heroines have never lost to another team on more than one Sunday. So that's just, I think, is super interesting and very unusual that would occur that way. But I think that's super interesting. As Anthony mentioned, they had a, not so great finish in Tampa with a really dramatic loss in the semis, which I'll also add, of the 5 losses in semis that the Heroines have lost, 4 of them have been by 1 point, and the other one was by 2. So they were always really tight losses. And I think it was awful, because anything less than first with the Heroines is just unacceptable. Sure. That being said, the Heroines have never won the first event of the year, and Tampa kept that kind of routine going. For some reason, the first event's just never been one that the Heroines have been able to capture. So, but like you mentioned, World Cup is one of Heroines have won 2 out of the past 3 World Cups that the WNXL has been playing. So definitely a winning culture for sure. Now I could keep rattling stats, but I don't want to take up all the airtime. So.
No, I think we can come off the Heroines. I mean, I think that it's going to be a really good matchup between the teams in our bracket. I think there could be a sleeper. My sleeper is out of this bracket, but they're not really a sleeper. which is our next team, is Vibe. I think that they're going to make a comeback at this event and be the biggest threat for the Heroines and Femmes and Rollers. Is if they can put the 5 players I think they can put on the field, then they're going to be back to their winning ways, or at least have a good chance at doing so. One last thing that I did talk to Johnny about for Vibe was that Casey Harris is going to be coaching them. So,
oh wow,
yeah, that's a big pickup for Vibe.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep, for sure. So yeah, I know Ryan and Mike love stats. So I'm going to drop a couple more stats on the Heroines. Like I said, win percent for 2025 is 80%. Playoff win percent over the last 2 seasons is 76%. Like I mentioned, the Heroines do pretty well performing on Sunday. And I think that that's going to be the biggest hurdle for a lot of other teams that end up having to face the Heroines on Sunday, is just that Sunday experience and that composure that I think that they just have historically speaking. So, I mean, I think they're the clear front runner. I know Anthony wants to get off the topic of the Heroines real quick, but I just think it's one of those situations. It's like when Dynasty was back to back to back, or even Fit now back to back. It's just, you're going to have to tackle the monster at some point. And I mean, I'm hoping there's close matches, in prelims and on Sunday, whether it's the Heroines are involved or otherwise. So should be a good one. This matchup that Anthony's referring to with Vibe and prelim should definitely be a good one for sure.
Before we get away from Heroines, every Nerd's Day asks, is Anthony coaching again, or are we going to see a Jenn Brad combo?
that combo is not going to happen this event, unfortunately. I love to not coach and have Brad and Jenn, but those are not the cards. I will be golfing with Brad on Friday when I land, but I will not be coaching.
I love it. I absolutely love it. All right, so we were moving on to Vibe. We hadn't finished with Vibe yet.
Nope. They play out of Fit, obviously. They have, speaking of culture, they have a really great culture, I heard, at Fit. So a lot of the players are piggybacking off of that, and it was started right off of event 1 of the WNXL, with Vibe being the inaugural winner. And it seems like they're going to get some players back, Jen. So let's talk a little bit about some of the players they got coming back potentially.
Yeah, Ryan dropped. I have a theory on why, but I won't say. There he is.
Yeah, you can say it's fine. It's a long show.
We call it
almost
a
50.
All right, we were just hopping into Vibe.
Yeah, did we lose Jen?
No,
her audio. I think she's struggling with her audio.
Oh, okay.
Got it.
That's
yeah.
okay.
So I will talk a little bit about the culture really quick. They Vibe from the beginning. The culture around Paintball Fit has been fantastic, right? Especially as Fit has continued to kind of move through the ranks, right? Like that, all the teams kind of below them have sort of followed in suit, right? So you have Shut Up We're Trying, who kind of came through D4, D3, D2, is now semi-pro. And then you have Vibe, like from inception, it's a little, their culture is a little bit like the Heroines. Like, we want to win.
Mm-hmm.
They do have a lot of fun, but they're there to win the tournament. There's not kind of a we're cool with second place attitude. I mean, I think Rich, when Rich was coaching them, that was his attitude as well. They drilled a ton. They did a lot of creative things in the training process to keep costs down so that they could train more. Vibe has always had a really, really good culture. And I think they've also like cultivated really good players. Like there's, we were talking about one earlier.
Hadley.
Hadley's fantastic for sure. But from the first year and she's not playing this year.
Brittany Vang.
No, but Brittany was amazing too. She played on Team USA last year.
JC,
yeah, like JC. She's really, really good, and again started from scratch, right? And within a couple of years, really, really solid athlete. So yeah, they have a fantastic culture. I do think, obviously, I think incredibly highly of Casey, and I think he will help that team. I think he'd help any team that he's a part of. I do think he brings a different kind of energy and game style. So I agree with you. Vibe could be really, really dangerous.
Yeah, especially again, if they can get the 5 players that I think they might be able to put on the field, between Michaela, Nicole Gates, an ex-heroine that if this layout has a gap where she can shoot somebody off the break, and Casey loves to shoot people off the break. So like that, I think is a dangerous combo. If JC does make a comeback, they're bringing back Leslie Cluis, and then Hadley is a machine. So they have a lot of weapons over there, and one of the underrated players is a Canadian. I know I got to say she's Canadian because I tried to get her on Team USA. Is Corinne Beard, who's a really good player for them as well. So they have a solid. I know losing Angie is really tough, and it is to lose someone of that caliber, but they still can put a very good team. They may not be as deep. I know Heap is a good player as well that's coming up, and they have a couple other players that are starting to really get some spins. But when you're at World Cup and you're trying to win, you're gonna ride your thoroughbreds, your workhorses there. So I think if they can get those 5 or 6, that's a solid roster. And then we miss you too, JC.
Yeah, sorry I couldn't remember your name. I'm really tired. I'm so sorry.
She's not gonna hold it against you.
Sleep
to your face.
Yeah.
to your face.
But no, that squad is still scary. We get you back, Jen?
Yeah, I think so. Can you?
Yeah, we got you. Good audio, good video.
Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, as soon as Ryan dropped out, I think he took me with him because right when he dropped out, I lost everything.
You definitely weren't where I was.
I believe it. So I think I missed some of the party on Vibe. I don't know if you guys have already touched on all of this. When I came back, we were all hyping up JC, which is well deserved. JC is an absolute baller. Just fun story about JC going back to the 2021 WNXL exhibition. The Heroines got partnered up with Vibe for the exhibition team. So we were on the same team. So when they were out there, we got to watch them and vice versa. And I remember watching JC play. She was playing the back center, not doing anything grand. She was just doing her job. And I remember thinking, like, this girl has got it. Like, some people you can just tell. Like, you can just tell that they got it in their mind and that they're going to excel. And I think, obviously, this many years later, I already mentioned her at the start of the show, JC is fantastic. She's come so far and still such a great player. So definitely miss you, JC.
She's waiting for a comeback, she's saying in the comments. So pull her out of retirement, get her off the bench.
Yeah, there you go, for sure. And again, I don't know what else you guys said about Vibe, but obviously, they definitely have winning experience. One thing that I think is super interesting about Vibe, and to your point, I think what I did here when I came back, Ant, is you can definitely not count them out. And I know we've said that about a lot of teams here, but Vibe especially. I mean, they've won 3 events, but more importantly, their worst finish was in Chicago 2023. They took 6th and then immediately won Cup and then immediately won Vegas. So it's definitely a situation where, even when you think, okay, well, they're going to be down bad without Angie or whomever or whatever it may be. Again, I think I missed some of the start of this. They still have Hadley. They still have Corinne. Like, I mean, they definitely still have, starters to count on. And I think that they're definitely someone that you always, always, always are going to have to watch out for.
That's right.
And obviously,
one event does not define you.
No, not at all. And, Heroines and Vibe, an age-old matchup. Obviously a rematch from finals from Cup last year, which was definitely a dramatic event. So definitely excited to see these 2 teams match up. And one thing I didn't say at the beginning of the show that I want to comment on now is the WNXL is only 2 brackets, meaning 4 teams go on to semifinals. And correct me if I say something wrong here, Ant, but you can never play the team that's in your bracket in semis. So there's no chance that the Heroines play Vibe in semis, and there's no chance that, or whichever 2 teams, whether it's Lights or Vibe or whomever.
It's cross bracket. Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Excellent.
So
Smart.
It definitely keeps it interesting because unlike men's pro or semi-pro or whatever, it could be chance. You could play a team in your last game in prelims and then turn around and play them first game Sunday, and that just doesn't happen here. So these 2 teams wouldn't potentially meet up until finals on Sunday. So definitely interesting. And in terms of their statistics, their win percentage this year is 68%. And then their playoff win percentage within the last 2 seasons is 41%. So that's clearly a little bit of a gap. I definitely think that they even would say, they expect that number to be higher on Sunday. I think any team would say that. So I would expect to see them exactly like we were talking about earlier about World Cup being kind of a different breed, definitely coming for it even harder than they have at the last two. So, and especially after losing Angie,
That's the second highest out of the division, out of all the teams, with Heroines have the highest.
And one thing you'll see here in the statistics is that, when we talk about, are we playing? No, I didn't mean to jump topics here, but no, we do not play. The WNXL does not play for third and fourth place. Third place is determined by seeding coming into semifinals. But going back to the win percentages on Sunday for the last two seasons, as I mentioned, I talked about that with the Femmes and with rollers, but more importantly, Femmes and rollers had only made 3 out of the past 5 Sundays, and five and Heroines have made 5 out of 5. So definitely, 2 top tier teams here.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It'll be a matchup. Always a matchup. So it'll be our last game of prelims, and we'll be scouting each other, I'm sure. Now that Casey's coaching too, whatever free time he can get, or he'll be sending maybe Rich. Who knows? Might have.
Yeah, they have Rich, Chuck. They got like 8 scouts over there.
Yeah. All right, Jen, we're going to move on to the lights. Team from Canada, owned by Aaron Scott.
Perfect.
Give us a little headway into that.
Sure. So the Northern Lights, obviously, as Anthony mentioned, a Canadian team, but they do have, kind of a relationship with some folks in Washington. So I think they're practicing for World Cup at Doodlebug Sports, and they have a working relationship with Uprising. As Anthony mentioned, the owner is Aaron Scott, husband is Cole Scott from Uprising. And I know they do a lot of work together and have a great mentor relationship with Uprising up there in the Pacific Northwest. Coming into the 2025 season, they did pick up 3 new players. I think these are players who are not only new to the WNXL, but new to the sport in general. So definitely some up and coming talent. We got Jordan Adams, Cassidy Bernaski, and Cassandra Schellenberg. All 3 of them joined them at the start of the season. So they're going into their first World Cup as players this year. They also have a new captain this year. That's going to be Amanda Atfield. I believe she's been with the team since the beginning. So she's going to be stepping into a captain role and has been for this season. In terms of lights, the rebuild, I think, is a great look for them. They're definitely, I think their best finish up until this year was 8th. And in Tampa, they took a 5th. So that's a 3-spot jump. And in Tampa, they went 2-2, which is, I think, is their best, their best finish up until this point. So they're definitely making improvement, slow and steady. And I think that this is a good look for them to kind of keep that growth, the growth in mind for sure.
Yeah, the Lights have always been a team that on the scoreboard, the matches are a lot closer than the score always says. So we've had a lot of mercies against them, but I remember they should have beat us probably the first 3 points that they played us in the World Cup last year. So again, that I think the scoreboard, definitely for us, they play us a lot tougher than the score indicates.
Yeah, and to your point, and I think that actually is a really good call out, because they are a team that is kind of middle of the pack right now, and they're having really tight games with other teams that are in the middle of the pack. But when it comes to facing off against teams in those top 4 positions, they're still struggling there. And I think that the difference maker is the experience gap. And I don't even mean just like, playoff WNXL experience. I mean, just experience within their own roster as well. And so when you have those situations, those high body situations that they need to capitalize on, that's the kind of things that comes along with experience. And I think it's going to be interesting to see where these new players that they're picking up and their rebuild that they're doing this year, where that's going to land them in situations like that going forward. That being said, their win percentage this year is 38%. So definitely looking, to see them improve that over the next, not just World Cup, but in the future as well. And Aaron Scott, again, I feel like I'm a broken record now, but so many of these women have such a positive attitude, and Aaron is definitely one of those. Mm-hmm. So huge shout out to Aaron Scott.
Especially when not a revolving door of players, but bringing in so many new players. It's just so hard to have cohesion. It's so hard to try next level things when you're always rebuilding and trying to start with a foundational, get the play calls down, get the zones down. And for teams like the Heroines, we don't have roster turnover. That's something that we try not to do. And that's so you can always be building on things when you have a constant roster. I mean, with Dynasty, right, Mike, like the core is always there. They're bringing in 1 or 2 pieces, maybe a season at most. And when you,
I know one of them.
Yeah. So, so if you can lean on a core, it's just when you get down to crunch time, there's a lot less things you have to worry about.
Right. And I think you make an excellent point. And the simple fact is, if I've got that core group, I also know the tendencies of my players. My players have a dynamic. They have a flow, right? They have an understanding. They can recognize from body language what someone's going to do. If you've got a revolving door, everyone's having to learn those tendencies again, those strengths and weaknesses and understandings. And it's just the consistency is much more difficult to grasp onto and hold.
Agreed. Yeah. All right. Ohana.
All right.
I think they just announced this, but Tiki is rebranding to I think it's Mountain Valley Sports? No. I'm gonna mess this up.
Is this breaking news here on the Coaches Show?
I think they broke it the other day.
Well,
hang on. I can go look at Kirill's.
Yeah, but they're rebranding. The field's name won't be Tiki's after this year, or maybe even right now. And I think even Ohana in the offseason is probably going to change their name to go along with the rebranding of the field. So I know they have
Valley
Thunder Valley Paintball Park.
Thunder Valley Paintball Park.
I like it. So yes, so Alex is over there rebranding there. And I think Ohana is going to change their name, I think is what Alex was thinking. So that's going to be part of the rebranding as well. But this team's another interesting team, some new players that showed a lot of potential in the last event, Jen. Did you watch a lot of the Ohana games?
I did not get to watch a single Ohana game in Ohio, unfortunately.
Yeah, I saw definitely at least 2 of their matches. And Ricky's got a couple of the new girls. I think they just were on the Spick and Span show as well. And
Gotcha.
I love how they're enthusiastic. They're practicing. Even if they're not practicing together, they're practicing at the field that's closest to them, drilling and staying, crispy. So I'm hoping to see something out of Ohana this event too. I think they're another team like the Nevermores that could sneak in 2-2.
Yep, absolutely. And to your point, the notes that I do have from them, they're only taking 7 players to Cup, and they're all, like, as far as I'm aware, I think all of the players on Ohana are local to that area. So much like the high rollers, they're getting a lot of spins together and getting a lot of field time, prepping that chemistry going into World Cup. They have a new player, I think that was just announced, Morgan Whipple. I don't know much about Morgan, but I hear that was a good pickup for them. So I'm excited to see her play. And then obviously their coach, Ricky Smith, semi-pro player for Tiki's Totem. Is Tiki's Totem going to rebrand?
I would assume they are, but maybe not. I don't know.
I don't even think they're going to World Cup.
Really?
All right.
Where did all the players go?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh boy. Another show.
I will say,
so Tiki's
I do want
Ohana.
to. I do want to add about Ohana. Like when I'm in Florida training with the guys, those girls are there almost every time I'm there.
Right.
So they're there, and I'm talking. I normally am there like way outside of tournament time. I go like either really, really early, meaning like right after an event. But they're there. So like I'm there usually like 2 weeks after an NXL. And they're there playing. So
they're not taking many weeks off, is what you're saying.
No, they work really hard. And they're jumping right in, playing with, really good D3 teams, D2 teams. I mean, they're not messing around. They play a lot of paintball.
I like it.
For sure. One notable change for them for this year in terms of roster is they did get Paige Vassar back from the New Jersey High Rollers. So Paige is based out of Florida. That's her home field, Tiki's, and she was previously going to New Jersey to play with the High Rollers. And in 2025, 2025, she started playing with them at the start of this year. And I think goes without saying, that's a huge pickup for them. Definitely coming from somebody that did have tournament experience, because Paige, I think, was playing tournaments even before WNXL, or at least when she started in the WNXL. I know she was, I think she was teammates with Brooklyn Stellato, actually, from the Heroines down in Florida. They were playing MVPS and things together. So Paige is definitely a good front snake attacker, and I think will definitely help continue to elevate Ohana going forward. In terms of Ohana's performance, much like you said, Ant, I think that they're a team that's definitely right there on the edge. They've always been kind of like middle of the pack. But one thing that I do want to say about Ohana, and I don't mean this as anything against Lights, but when we were talking about Lights just a second ago, I kind of mentioned that, yes, they have had a lot of close games with those people that were, in that middle of the pack. But if you look at Ohana, they've actually had a lot of 1-point games with teams like Cheetahs last year and with the Femmes and with the Rollers. So they're definitely inching, in my opinion, closer and closer and closer to having those upset games against teams that have been historically in the top 4. So I think that in also getting Paige back this year, I think is going to help them achieve that even closer. So I definitely think Ohana is a team to look out for going forward, and their win percent is 40%. So that's definitely not a bad number. I think that, as I've said with each team, they're going to want that number to be higher. So I definitely think that's something that they're capable of.
I do like that. They've had more 1-point losses than any other team. I mean, so right there.
Yeah.
That is like a 1-player difference. Like one person can make a huge difference there.
And that's a legitimate stat to track, because to your point, right? It shows, there's something there, and there's just one little element, might be just one little element that's missing, that if they can add or adapt, it's a different season.
Yeah, before the Nevermores picked up Kelly Watson.
Kelly Watson, yep.
Yeah. I thought Ohana really, with Paige going back there, they were going to be probably a playoff team, but it was almost like a swap where Ohana picked up Paige but then lost Kelly. And I think that's what, like you guys are saying, we're all saying that they were 1 player away. I almost think if Kelly had stayed, that's a playoff team. But, Kelly's obviously saw her opportunity with the Nevermores, with Alex coaching the team. It was probably a no-brainer. But from an outsider looking in, that's where my head was when Paige went there first. I was like, oh, wow, they're going to be pretty good. And so I think they are 1 player away. And having a 7-player roster is tough. I like running 8, but we have 8 players that have played together, they're almost interchangeable. So if you have 7 and they're not interchangeable, then
you can have problems.
Got his work cut out for him.
Yep. Yeah. For sure.
All right. We've got the Angels.
Yep. So our last team in Group B is going to be the Immortal Angels. A lot of people might know them as the St. Louis Archangels. They recently changed their name to Immortal Angels when they changed home fields. So now they are based out of Paintball, Indiana, and they are coached by Fred Shaw and Brett Erlinger. Brett currently plays on Distortion Semi-Pro, and they are still captained by Jess Askren. So they're that's kind of like who's leading the charge for them. One thing that I do think is interesting is that they have recently picked up some new players that I'm told have a lot of paintball experience, but have not been playing in the WNXL. So some women who have been around paintball for a while that are just now being aware of the WNXL or just making this decision to take part in it. So I am told that, they are excited and do feel competitive going into World Cup. And obviously that's something that you like to hear from a team that, historically has not been doing super hot, since they entered the league. And actually only 3 of their original Angels who started on the original Angels team that entered the WNXL are still there. So they've definitely, to Anthony's point about some of the other teams, the revolving door, and just trying to get that consistently ironed out, consistency and roster ironed out to what works best for you, I think is definitely a challenge, especially when you're looking for players who are based out of a kind of a centralized area. And a lot of these new girls are picking up are based out of that Blast Camp Midwest area. So definitely excited to see, what they've got cooking in terms of some of their pickups that they've got going on for Cup. So it should be fun. Again, last team here, and you guys are going to not hear me have to say this one more time, but the attitudes. Jess Askren has one of the best attitudes of any female I've ever met in paintball, and she's absolutely my player to watch on the Angels, not because of her attitude, but because she's a good player. Jess is absolutely a good player. Jess is a player that, in my opinion, is good enough to play on another team. Like she's good enough for someone else to pick up, but she's staying here and captaining this team and building this team up and being a leader for this team. So Jess is absolutely somebody that I want to commend.
Yeah, I love that.
I do too.
Yeah, 100%. You kind of want to finish what you start type of thing. And with the new ownership, I know that they're giving them a lot of support, trying to bring in coaches, doing clinics, having, pro players come in and give the girls clinics and coaching, which is, again, one of those things that they need to get rid of the learning curve. So to Jen's point, when we have some of the teams that are historically playing from the 5th seed in a bracket, they're playing the hardest teams too, right? Because they're not playing other people in their level, because the other 5th place team is in the other bracket and whatever. And so you have to fight from the bottom up. And when you're put behind the 8 ball, sometimes when you don't have the resources or you don't have the coaching and all these things, and it's nice to see that a player is going to stay and kind of build around her, where, an owner that's coming back in and saying, we're going to give you the resources you need, stick with us, and we're going to build this from the ground up. And that's something that is really exciting to see for the Angels.
Yeah,
it also sounds like, with the note, you said that several players who've been playing for a while, just not in the WNXL.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like that's a dark horse. That's a wild card. They could be.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it for sure. I don't know these players personally, but that's the update that I was given. And I think that that's definitely something to look out for, because I feel like that's the thing, especially with female players in general. And even from my experience, when I first started playing as a female player in paintball, is that there are a lot of players that people just don't know about, because that's just the way that, unfortunately, that's just the reality of it. So sometimes you kind of pick up a rock and there's a female paintball player under there, so that was me. That was when Rosie McCurley picked up the rock and Jen was underneath. So I definitely think there's some truth to that. So I'm excited to see, it looks like Jess put a comment in here, Jess Askren, that's the captain of the Angels. It took me some convincing to come to that. And that's absolutely true. I remember talking to Jess back in, I think it was 2022 at one of the MSXLs. And I was excited to see that she made the jump to come in and play, because I think that she is one of the best people involved in the WNXL for sure. In terms of statistics, I do want to give them a shout out though, because to your point, Ant, about, bracket to bracket playing teams that are kind of in your level, the Angels historically were still losing to teams that were kind of, in that same 4 and 5 spot to them. And, in this season, they've been winning games against those teams that are kind of sitting in that same area with them. Now, I mean, they've been close games, but they're definitely overcoming that hump to the point that in 2024, they won 6 out of 70 points. And that's the thing, is that when you see a number like that, you ask yourself, like, how do I, continue to fight? And I think that's what's so impressive about Jess and the Angels, is that they're so extremely resilient. And to that point, they've gone from winning 6 points in 2024 to 13 already in 2025. So that's taking it from a 9.09% to a 29% jump in wins. So that's a 20% increase in wins. So, I mean, that's obviously a huge increase there, and their win percent for 2025 is at 29%. And I think that's only the tip of the iceberg for them going forward. So definitely excited to see what they can continue to do.
Totally. It goes right back to our original conversation, kind of how we started the show, where we're seeing, the gap is getting smaller, right? The teams at the bottom, are getting better and better and better, right? We're seeing consistent improvement, even in rebuilds, which is awesome, right? Like a team that goes through a massive rebuild and then does better than they did the previous season, that's like unheard of. Right. It's not the way it's supposed to work, right? But new resources, new coaching, new opportunities for advancement and improvement, that it's not a secret. Like, the secret sauce is hard work, right?
There it is.
Yeah. Love that. Well, pretty good job, Jen. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Not too
Like
bad.
pretty good. Not great, but pretty good.
Pretty good.
Like this was just so you guys know, there's 3 pages of notes in front of Mike and I that Jen has put together with like data, stats, all of this kick-ass content. No chat GTP used for any of this.
I have
This is
never used
legit
it in my
Jen
entire
work.
life.
Okay, we got to
Never
fix
once.
that.
Never
Like
once.
it could have
No,
done all
I'm
these
proud of
stats
you,
for
Jen.
in, like, a
stay
moment.
true.
Resist.
Resist. I'm in your corner.
Chat GBT.
Man, I want to go back to, spears and loincloths, but everybody else wants to GPT.
Hey, let's not get carried away, Mike. Let's not
Thank
get
you.
carried away.
Yeah. Thank you.
Whatever Jen doesn't use in Chat GPT, Lori is making up for.
100%.
I promise I am too.
In fact, I am Lori's Chat GBT. Lori just puts in "need this" and boom, it's there. It just shows
Absolutely.
up in her text
So Ryan,
messages.
should we make her? So she gave us a dark horse. Should we make her give us her picks?
Yep.
All right. Okay.
All right, what am I
The
picking?
4 teams that you see making Sunday, Jen, and I'm going to write them down because I'm going to use them to win the coaches' bets.
I mean,
You can only pick one, fool.
Yeah, but I'm not going to use Chat GPT to do it.
listen, y'all, I am such a stats person that but I don't want to be boring and say Femmes, rollers, heroines vibe. But
Right.
statistically speaking, it's such a small division that it's hard to argue with that. Man, and I don't want to make anybody mad at me for not picking them. So listen, I'm trying to play nice here.
You realize we do this
I was
for
going to
all
say,
5 events.
and we do it to our friends' faces.
Yeah.
Oh god.
I've only picked the Ironman like 3 times in 2 years, and Shane's on the show.
I mean, I know. It's tough because, looking at bracket A, I still feel like the rollers have it in them. I think the big thing that's going to be standing in the rollers' way is everything we talked about World Cup, about just it being everybody's bringing their best. And I think this is going to be the hardest event for them to try to kind of overcome and get themselves back into the finals. But I want to see the rollers win an event at some point. It doesn't have to be cup, but I think that they have what it takes to do that. So I'm sticking with what I said. That being said, I think the Nevermores are a dark horse. I think they might make Sunday, but in this scenario that pits Femmes not making Sunday, which is not realistic to me. So I don't know how I can participate here, but I guess I'm just going to stick with my original plan and go with stats and go with Femmes and rollers coming out of bracket A.
And that's fair. That's fair. There's no shame in that.
Yeah, I mean,
Femmes and rollers.
and that's the harder one because I think that's the trickier bracket there.
Right.
But
Now,
I
I'm
think
pretty sure I know what your other pick, at least one of your picks, is going to be from the.
And just FYI, we've played 4 events, and we also pick a semi-pro team, and we're at like 29 or 30. So we miss a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
We miss a lot.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, I think I want to get to more interesting things. I think the Nevermores are going to have 1 or 2 point games with both the Femmes and the rollers. I'm not going to give them Sunday, I guess, because I don't. That's just too tough. But I
It's
think
going to be a fight.
It's going to be there, and I actually, in my opinion, I think I don't know what the future of the WNXL holds, but if what we are doing continues to keep going, then I think the Nevermores are a team that will find themselves consistently in the top 4 as WNXL continues to progress. So anyway, I'll come off that tangent. Yeah, bracket B, man, it's not happening. It's Femmes. I mean, it's a heroines and vibe.
No.
It is. I mean, I think that people are going to think that Vibe might struggle a little bit because of not having Angie. I think I might have cut out of the stream when you guys were opening about Vibe, and I don't know. This certainly isn't official because nothing was provided to me to make an official statement. But I've seen Leslie Cluis actively practicing and wearing Vibe gear, and I think she might have gotten phoned in. And Leslie's a beast, so super excited to see her come back and play front snake for them, I hope. So, I mean, Vibe is still going to be competing 100%. Now we just got to get JC back in uniform for sure. But yeah, that's going to be a super close game. But, I mean, you guys know the drill. The heroines are definitely the front runner for sure.
Yeah, I love it.
Yep.
My bracket
Okay.
A, not that you want my opinion, but bracket A, I think is going to have 3 2-2 team. Three teams will be 2-2. It'll be a lot like Ohio, and it's going to come down to some maybe point spread, but it might be even just a head-to-head because somebody's going to be.
No one said we didn't want your picks, Anthony. So
I just didn't want to put you in a weird situation.
No, that's why I'm only saying the other bracket.
Okay.
I'll say it. No, I'm just kidding.
All right.
We do want to give some shout outs, Jen, to that we wrote down the amateur teams.
Yes, but before we do that, there's some comments here, and I just want to clarify that's top 2 per bracket for Cup. Last year at Cup, there were 12 teams because of the European edition, so they actually took 6. The top 2 teams would get a bye, and the other 4 would play quarters, which would go into semis. But because there's only 10, it should be top 2 only. Correct, Ant? They're not going to be doing taking 6 out of 10. Yeah, that's not going to happen this Cup. Yep. So it should only be 4. So yep, we're going to go talk about the amateur teams just a little bit. So, Ant, you want to talk about the different?
Yeah. So at World Cup, they offer 2 brackets for women, where there's a 5v5 and a 3v3, and typically 5v5 I think is at every event, and then 3v3 is only World Cup, I believe, but it changes a lot. But we've got some decent numbers. We're hoping for a few more. I don't know. Is this completely up to date, Jen? Like as of
I checked it before the show started. These were the teams that were registered.
Okay.
Yep.
So if you want to, a few of these teams.
Sure.
I only know a couple as well.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing I do want to add is that an amateur WNXL five woman team can have one WNXL pro player. A lot of times you might see somebody who didn't make Sunday or lost on Sunday come and help out an amateur team, which is awesome. Love to see that as well. So and then for 3v3, there can be none. There can be no active pro WNXL players on those rosters. So for our 5v5 teams, these are just teams that are registered. We're not really going to go in depth here. I just want to give them a quick shout out. We've got Armada Nova based out of Mexico. We have Dallas Dolls, which are the current reigning, I think, season leaders in the amateur. They're obviously underneath Dallas 5 at Paintball Fit. So no surprise there. We've got the New Jersey High Rollers, who are right behind them. That's the amateur team that works with, obviously, the pro WNXL team High Rollers. And shout out to Allie for even fostering this team to begin with. There's definitely some up-and-coming kids playing on, I say kids, young players on that squad. So definitely look for them in the future to continue to feed into the High Rollers program. We have the TCP Diamond Machine. I'm not familiar with them, but they are part of the TCP program based out of Michigan. And then we have Valkyria. They actually played in this division last year. They're based out of Colombia, South America. And then the last team signed up is another Latin American team, which is the women's Mexico Saints team based out of Mexico. Don't know much about them, but excited to see them registered here as well. And then jumping into our 3v3, again, these are just teams that are currently signed up. We've got a Dallas Dolls 3-woman line, team called Kickin' Factory. We've got Lady Jackals, who I believe are based out of New York, and then Runaways, who I believe are based out of California. Sparrows, who I don't know anything about. I'll skip over Sisters, and then the last one, I believe you're going to pronounce that Vixens. The Twisted Sisters are actually, I'm going to give them a special shout out. They're my team. They're my home 3-woman team that I coach here in North Carolina. They've been playing 3v3 here in the CFOA, not a women's division. They've been playing against all males the entire year, and have taken 2 third places. So excited to take these girls back to World Cup this year. They won the women's 3v3 last year at World Cup, and they're super hungry to defend that title. So just want to shout out my girls real quick.
What are you like giving? You're giving back?
What?
I guess
Just a little.
Good.
I want to do a shout out to Caitlin Eisenhower, who's playing on the High Rollers. She came out to the BKI summer camp, and she's improving every year. She'll be playing on a WNXL team, I'm sure, next year. But shout out to Caitlin on the High Rollers.
Nice.
Love that shout out.
Yeah. Lots of tremendous.
You might see a third Blanco sister too pretty soon.
There's 3 of them.
She's the tallest one too,
yes.
I think.
Yeah.
By the way, yes, and fast.
I mean, they're all fast.
Yeah, this one's faster.
I don't know about that. Yeah,
It's those couple inches. I'm telling you.
That's what it
Couple
is.
inches.
Yeah.
she might have longer strides, but I don't know if she's fast.
That's what I'm getting at. She's
So what
gotta
I'm
be.
hearing is we need to have a race at Legacy.
I
to
think
make it
that's what
happen.
I'm hearing as well.
I think
Wow.
Portita is not going to be voting too well in that one, but we'll see. So we got some closing stuff to go over that Jenn has put together. We put together. I want to personally say thank you to a lot of the women that have come before the WNXL. We're putting together a little list of people. Some people don't know some of the players that maybe are even on this list. Some of the players have played in the WNXL. Some are still playing in the WNXL. But I'm going to bring up one that's never played in the WNXL. I did try to get her to play the WNXL, and I think B did as well. But Ashley Noble, did you remember? She played out of North Carolina. Do you remember her, Ryan?
Yep.
Yeah, she's one of the really good players to play.
Paintball Central, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going to let you take over a little bit, Jenn, because a lot of these are our notes.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's the obvious ones: B. Paxton, Tammy Adamson. I mean, absolute stalwarts in terms of women's paintball. Andrea Martinez, from the Femmes. I mean, we could keep on and keep on. I know it's getting late for you guys, but definitely want to shout out to some of these women who were they were in it when it was much tougher than it is now. And I think that that's just incredible that they've dedicated that much time and energy to see where we're at today and to help us get to where we're at today. And then, of course, some of the best female players to ever do the thing, Katie Kelly, the absolute GOAT. Katie Kelly is my GOAT. For sure. I learn something new from Katie every single time we play. And it's one of my favorite teammates that I've ever had. And then of course, Kat Secor, one of the greatest to ever do it. So yeah, definitely a short list we have here. But we definitely wanted to take the time to recognize some of these women that have been doing this thing for a long time and probably without the appreciation that they deserve. So
I think another one I missed that I was thinking about too.
I'm sure we've missed people.
Yeah,
absolutely.
is Keely Watson.
I was just gonna say it. I was gonna say it has to be mentioned.
Right.
The family.
So, yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So. But to Jenn's point, I'm sure we missed others that we just didn't come up with quickly when we were putting together a list. And as far as Katie being the GOAT, I can't really say that that's not true. Like she really has got a different game going on in her head that others don't have yet. And we're so lucky to have her on the squad. But if anybody saw her play in Atlantic City, this was last year.
Yep.
She was just next level, just breaking the game apart in the finals. Well-deserved finals MVP. So, yeah, shout out to Katie Kelly.
Love it.
Yeah. Yeah, paintball is a weird game a lot of times where when our pioneers kind of leave the sport, they're just gone. It's really, we don't, in my opinion, recognize them appropriately. I think we've started kind of with the Icons awards and the Hall of Icons, but a lot of times these guys go away. Like Gary Noblet's one of those that I kind of talk about a lot. Mm-hmm. He was one of my favorite players growing up. And, when he retires, they're just gone. Right. They just go away and there's we just keep going on about our business, where there's no recognition and celebration kind of their, what they've done for our sport before they went. And I think it's always important when we have an opportunity to give back to those that came before us to do so. Yeah. Especially for some like B and Kat and Tammy and, these people who've really driven, women's paintball for a really long time. I think that's, it's the responsible thing to do for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You want to talk about this next really cool thing?
Yeah.
The documentary or?
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about sleep, going to bed. That's the next interesting thing happening here.
That's going to be right after I show this and you guys talk about when it's going to come out and all of that fun stuff. And the next thing right after that, then we're going to bed.
Awesome.
Is this what we're about to show public now?
Yes.
Yeah.
People have seen. Okay, bummer, because I was like, man, we should announce that this is previewing the trailer.
Well, tomorrow's the day that'll be out. But I want to give Jenn her props for 100% that, Caleb did all the filming or most of the filming for this. And that's the one that did most of the editing on all the previous episodes. But due to life things, Caleb was unable to finish what he kind of started. And Jenn not only just picked this ball up and ran with it, but did an incredible job. So she did all the editing for this final episode of the Heroines documentary. So I will say thank you, and thank you. Laurie would be saying it over and over again. So thank you, Jenn. So what you're about to see has been edited by Jenn.
Bracket.
Last season, we didn't see much progress. We want change. We need to make a change.
When we got all together, we just immediately clicked.
I think there's still some hard feelings about it, but I knew I had to go.
The talent and the dedication on this team is going to definitely bring us to the top level in places that we haven't been.
There we go. Katie's a dog. Let's go.
That's going to be our #1 downfall is if we get too cocky.
Get off of what the expectation is and just play. Because y'all know how to play the game.
Atlantic City was a whole different vibe. Changes happen, good changes happen. That's how life rolls, evolution.
We're going to do what we do best, and they're not going to stop us.
I would be scared going against us, to be honest.
We can sit in the back all day long!
Put on the f***ing gas the rest of the f***ing match. Ride that f***ing momentum.
Leave no doubt that we are winning this match because we're going to win World Cup right here.
Yes, we are. There's no other girls that I want to be playing with.
Nice.
Well done.
Well
Jenn.
done. Hey, if you're doing this for free, there's this thing called the Z log. I could really use some help with.
Okay. All right. We'll talk. No,
All right. Deal.
Yeah. I mean, I know we've been running here for a minute. I'll keep this short in terms of the documentary. The whole premise here, obviously this piece covers Vegas, which was a pretty rough loss for the Heroines, and then primarily World Cup. We didn't really cover Atlantic City, and obviously you guys know how World Cup went. This finale of the Heroines documentary is important to me, I think, more than for any other reason, because I think that this roster of the Heroines that we kind of still have now, but especially last year, obviously, I think was the best whole line of female players that have ever been on one team together. And I think that it's a story that deserves to be told because, as I've talked about Heroines already, the expectation is to win. And when you put a roster together like that and you think that you're on top of the world and then you get humbled really quick, I think it's a good story of just making sure that you keep your head on straight and, stay in it together and prove to the rest of the community what you're made of. So definitely excited to premiere this tomorrow. It'll be going live at 7 p.m. Eastern, not Central, Ryan. Eastern. I'm just kidding. So yeah, we'll be premiering.
I can do math. That's 6. But by the way, I'll be in Florida.
No,
so
I'm talking about the fact that
me.
this started at 8 Eastern, and I'm like, I'm about to fall asleep over here. I know Mike is. No, I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah, Mike is.
Hey, Anthony is 3 hours.
That's right.
Hey, that's fair.
FYI.
That's fair.
Right.
Yeah.
But not because of the company, just because I haven't slept for 24 hours.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, so it'll be coming out tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Heroines YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/@Heroines Paintball. And yeah, excited to show you guys. It's everybody watching. It's going to be a good time. It's about 40 minutes long, give or take, and it'll be the end of the series.
Love it.
Very cool.
Great message.
Yeah.
Great message.
Well,
I'd like to end on one thing too, if we don't mind. So Laurie and I definitely have always looked at the league as the more important thing than even our team. And we wanted to make sure that the league and all of its players had that pro experience. So part of the documentaries and part of building a team that can play at such a high level is to show that it can be done and that everybody hopefully can try and do that as well. One of the things we're going to try and do in the off season is we always have a Heroines off season practice for a weekend, and we're going to try to invite all the other WNXL teams to come out that weekend to kind of stay sharp for the off season, and then potentially even invite other females that want to try to get involved with the WNXL. So we are going to be announcing that pretty shortly too. It's going to be, I think, the first weekend in February, or February 6th and 7th, something like that. But we'll be posting that. And I've already talked to some of the other owners, but I think it'd be a good way for us as a community to try to bolster the league and to make sure that everybody is staying sharp while still being inviting to a lot of other players that might want to try and be involved. So
where are you doing that?
Yeah. Is it at Wasteland?
Yeah, we'll do it at Wasteland.
In Houston.
Okay. Well, I might come down for that.
I was thinking we might have to swing by, Ryan.
I'd love to have you guys. It'll be the
It's
week
only
after
5 hours for me.
Yeah.
It's a flight, but I would like to watch that. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see the difference in dynamics. I really would like, and if I can help, I'd love to help.
I'm gonna take you up on that.
The weekend right after the combine, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna be in Houston from like December 30th through the end of February, I think. So just trying to get a lot of things done when we're down there.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I wanted to first of all just say, Jen, great job with the way you put everything together. Really, really fantastic information. Love to have you. We kind of talked about this in the green room, but I'll just say it here publicly. Love to have you back after before and after each one of the WNXL events, as well a couple of weeks before the first event for the off season. Talk about the WNXL. We had Haley, who was doing that for a while. We really missed that element to the show. We love trying to showcase as much of the different types of paintball being played, and especially the different leagues that are happening. So love to have you come back on. I know you said yes in the green room, but now I'm going to make you do it publicly, so that way everyone can shame you if you don't show up.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'd absolutely love to. And I'd love to know what kind of stuff people want to know about the WNXL. Like, for people listening, what do you guys find interesting? What kind of stats are you interested in? And you guys don't have to answer in the chat. That's one thing I want to say in general. Any WNXL players that are watching this, please feel free to reach out to me anytime you want about anything, whether it's, what to do for this show, if your player roster changes, anything that you guys want to talk about. Clearly, I have a load of information here. I love talking paintball. So definitely never, feel like you can't reach out. But yes, I would love to do the show, and I'd love to help do whatever I can to continue to grow the WNXL.
Love it. Thank you. And Anthony,
Excellent.
always you, Laurie, thank you for everything you guys do for paintball. I mean, we could sit here all night. And again, I say this every time you come on, it's like introducing Tiger Woods before he tees off. That's how long we would have to take in order to say all of the things that you're involved in and all the wonderful things that you do. Massive appreciation for those of us who are trying to help push this thing forward. We know the kind of energy and effort and financial things that it takes to do the things that you're doing. And so you and Anthony, or you and Laurie, are a huge part of that. And we really appreciate you.
No.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. We're going to let you go to bed. Anthony, we'll let you get to your cocktails. I'm sure that's coming next. Yeah,
it is.
Good. Yeah.
I want to say happy birthday tomorrow to my brother. My little brother's turning 50 tomorrow. So we're here in the Dominican doing a little trip for my brother.
I love it.
That's awesome. Yeah. And we'll see you all in a week.
Yep.
Yes, we will.
Or maybe sooner, some of you, depending on where you're practicing.
That's true.
Yep. Talk soon, guys.
All right.
Be safe. Guys. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Really well done. Of course, I expected nothing less from both of them, right? So great show, great participation. I want to send a big shout out to all of you in the chat. You guys have been incredible. Thanks for showing up and showing out and showing your support for the WNXL. It's good to see. It's obvious you guys are.
And all of this excitement in the chat makes me want to do more WNXL shows.
I agree.
Right?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
So much activity in here.
Yeah, they had player parties.
They
even had player parties. So
ton of
fun.
fun.
Show watching party or whatever it's called. I'm too tired. I don't know.
Yeah,
but it's something about it.
Yeah, let's get out of here. Thank you guys all for joining us tonight on episode 92 of the Coach's Show. Next week we will have Shane Pestana, SK, and
a special moderator.
New addition to our pre-show, we will have Rich Telford, who will come on to moderate. So I don't have to do it anymore, which is awesome.
He's gonna stroke fire.
So next week is going to be really cool. And then keep in mind, we don't do the post-event show on the next Monday because like I don't even fly home till Monday. It will be on Thursday. So the post World Cup show will be on Thursday, which again, we will have Rich Telford back on. Hopefully another coach. Maybe we can get the winning coach on, and maybe one of those coaches is sitting here. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. It's going to be a lot of fun next week. Next couple of weeks are going to be a ton of fun. Our 2-year anniversary show is actually the one right before. I don't know if it's before or after because we did the first show at World Cup.
We did it at World Cup. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
all right,
we'll have to do something special for that. Maybe do a giveaway.
Yeah, we could.
We could.
I got a bunch of stuff.
I got something over here that I think would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I got a bunch of stuff. All right. Well, thank you guys again for joining us. Thank you to Major League Paintball, Major League Paintball Plus, Tom Cole, Kevin Fillers, Darren Cessna. As always, I'm Ryan Gray with Mike Bianca. Be responsible.